Dear viewers, there is a lot of confusion in the minds of people about the concept of emergency funds. In this episode, I am going to talk to you about every aspect of emergency fund, what constitutes an emergency fund, how you should build it, how much of emergency funds you should have, what care you should take, and every bit of detail. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant Bhatt, your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, when we talk about emergency fund, do not get confused with the contingency funds. Contingency funds is a pool of money that you have kept reserved just in case of an unexpected event or an expense coming in your life. That's a contingency fund. An emergency fund is something which will allow you to run your life normal just in case if there is cessation of your income. If you decide not to work, if you lose your job for a period of at least 2 years, your life should run in a normal way. That is the concept of emergency fund. Where does the contingency fund come in this? Contingency funds is a part and parcel of emergency fund, but it becomes one portion of emergency fund. It is not emergency fund in its totality. So this is a video that I have done based on my experience of looking at the lives of people over 30 long years. In a career spanning over 3 decades, I have seen lives of my friends, relatives, prospects, clients in different countries, different age groups, different economic strata very closely. I have done fact finds of thousands of people. I have seen what is working and what does not work, where people fail and what can go wrong. This video is a result of observation of lives of thousands of people in a career spanning over 30 years. Now let us look at how much of emergency funds you should have, what is the formula that you can safely assume, and what all the things that has to be taken into account when you arrive at how much of emergency funds you should have. I will give you a simple formula. Your total emergency fund that will be required is a simple function of A plus B plus C. You add A, B and C. The total figure that you get is the total amount of emergency fund you should have in your life. If A plus B plus C is your emergency fund, what does A, B and C stand for? First is A. A stands for your 2 years of living expenses plus 2 years of liabilities plus 2 years of your commitments. Living expenses is very simple to understand. That's the consumption money you need to lead a normal life. Your groceries, payment of fees, whatever it is. That's your living expenses. Your liabilities are if you have a home loan, if you have a car loan, if you have a personal loan, or any liabilities you can think of in your life, whatever the money that you pay for that in the next 2 years should also be included in this A. What is commitments? Commitments are not liabilities in real sense. If, for example, you are paying for a retirement plan, you are paying for child education funding plan, or you could be contributing to an NPS plan as originally planned. That also becomes your commitments, which has to run in a normal way. So the A represents 2 years of your living expenses plus the commitments plus the liabilities for next 2 years. Let's assume that you have 50,000 rupees as your living expense per month. Then for 2 years, 50,000 into 12 months into 2 years, that figure will be 50 into 12 is 6 lakhs. Into 2 years is 12 lakhs. So 12 lakhs is required as an emergency fund. Add to that your commitment. Let's say that you are paying a home loan of 25,000 rupees per month. For next 2 years, the total amount of money that is required to service this housing loan is 25,000 into 12 months into 2 years. The figure will run to another 6 lakhs. So your living expenses was 12 lakhs plus commitment towards your liabilities is 6 lakhs. So this became now 18 lakhs. Add to that your commitment which you are normally doing. Let's say that you are paying a SIP in a mutual fund of say 10,000 rupees per month. That means to say over next 2 years you would require 10,000 into 24 months 2.4 lakhs as your commitment. It's not a liability, you can afford to stop it, but assume that you have to go ahead with that. So you need another 2.5 lakh. Now the figure A is 12 lakhs your living expenses, 6 lakhs your liabilities towards your housing loan, and 2.4 lakhs commitments towards your SIP. The total figure is 20.4 lakhs. I have taken an example here. This figure could be lesser, higher as per your circumstances. You can use rupees, dollars, dirhams, whatever the currencies you are dealing in, and you can arrive at this figure of A. You may ask a question, why it should be for 2 years? The reason is pretty simple. Now you have seen in case of pandemic how 2 years were lost. In fact, I had spoken about emergency fund much before the pandemic started, and I have told about the same thing. It's just not about an unforeseen event which is panning out in your life. There can be a planned activity also that may follow. These days, there are a lot of people who want to take a break from their life or break from their work and pursue higher studies, which will not allow them to earn a salary during this particular phase. Unless you have sufficient enough amount of emergency funds to cater to this period of no income, then your life will not be a normal process. Therefore, it is advisable that you plan this for 2 long years. That will give you ample time. The unforeseen events could be something like pandemic, which is an extremely rare event, but the common events are a critical illness happening in the family or something happening with your family which makes you not to work for an interim period of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years or more than that. Something going wrong in the family, husband and wife, and one member not able to earn the salary, and it can completely derail your family's finances. All these possibilities are there, and I have seen this panning out in the lives of many people during my career. Now let us look at, in the formula, what does B constitute for? B stands for all planned one-time expenses that you intend to incur during the next 2 years. It's not repetitive like an SIP or a retirement plan or a home EMI, but this is something that you have planned during the next 2 years. If your income were to stop for whatever the reason, but you still want to go ahead with that, that also has to be provided for. Let me give you an example. You want to go on a vacation and you have planned that during these next 2 years, this is what I need to do. Or you want to renovate your house. Or you are planning to buy a house and you want to keep a margin money as on the sidelines. That could be a one-time thing. There could be any other thing that might come in your life, or you would have planned that you want to do during your next 2 years. Just because the income is stopping, this planning should not go haywire. So whatever that thing you have planned in the next 2 years, that also please add to your emergency fund. So I have explained now what is B. What is C? C is all about contingencies. This is what people mistake it to be, an emergency fund. It's a small portion of your emergency fund. Anything going wrong, see a friend of you asking you for an help, a major health issue with your parent, you need to help somebody, or your vehicle met with an accident, some unexpected event happened, and there is an unplanned expense coming in your life, that is a contingency. You add to that. Now going back to the original example, in the original example I said A represents 20.4 lakhs, 3 constituents I've explained before. Let's say you have a one-time expense planned in the next 2 years which constitutes about 10 lakh rupees and a contingency provision of 5 lakh, then the sum of these three, 20.4 plus 10 lakhs plus 5 lakh, your total emergency fund could be 35.4 lakhs. That's the way you have to arrive at how much of emergency fund you should have in your life. Now when we are working on this formula, one doubt might come in your mind. Circumstances will change, lifestyles will change, I will grow up the ladder, my expenses will change, then how will I figure out what is the emergency fund I need? See, the calculation of emergency fund is not a one-time affair. It's a dynamic process. As you move up the ladder, as you move along your life's career path, your priorities, your expenses and everything would change. Every year you should sit down and you should revisit your calculations and make necessary adjustment for the changing circumstances. So building an emergency fund is a very dynamic process. It is not something that you do it one time and you forget it. No, every year you have to revisit and keep making adjustments for this particular thing. One thing that I would like to tell in case of emergency fund, if you are a senior citizen who is watching this program, in your case, in the formula for A, what I said that 2 years of living expenses for a working person should be replaced by 5 years. If you are a retired person, you don't have an income, you don't have a risk-taking ability, your cash flow should be secured very properly, you can't be taking undue risk. So in case of senior citizen, A should be replaced as 5 years of living expenses, commitments and liabilities should be considered and not 2 years. Now another doubt could come to your mind. I am a beginner in my career. When I calculate all this, it boils down to a big figure. So should I wait till the entire emergency funds are built to do other aspects of financial planning? Let's say I have to build an emergency fund. I also have to pay for my insurance. I also have to start my retirement planning. Dear viewers, please make note, as I said, building emergency fund is a dynamic and constant process. You don't have to wait till you build the entire emergency fund to start other aspects of it. Of course, you have to go in a step-by-step manner. You should calibrate it properly. In the beginning of your career, you should be focusing more on emergency funds, and more amount should go towards building your emergency fund, and smaller amount should go towards other life goals. But once you build a sizable amount of emergency funds, then more focus should be given for reaching other life goals. That's a logical step to follow. Now you know what all will form the emergency funds, how to calculate it and how to go about it. One crucial question that could be there in your mind is, where should I park this money? Should I idle this in an SB account of a bank? Or what should I do with this money? Emergency funds, when you calculate, will be substantial amount of money. You can't be idling this in an SB account of the bank. So if you cannot idle it, where can you park this money? See, the money that you have designated as an emergency fund definitely has to be invested. But when you invest this money, certain caution has to be taken. What is the caution that you should take when you park your emergency fund in any instrument? I will say 2 conditions have to be met to park your emergency fund. Number 1, the instrument that you have chosen should not be volatile in nature, which means to say you park 10 lakhs in an instrument and next month, because of a market volatility or a pricing difference, its value should not drop to 8 lakhs, 9.5 lakhs or not. It should be least volatile. If it is moving in a volatility range of 1-2%, that's fine. But it should not be behaving like a stock market where it can collapse by 10%, 20%, 30%, anything could happen. Or you can't be parking this money in a parcel of land which can become illiquid. So the instrument which qualifies to hold your emergency fund should not be volatile. This is condition number 1. Condition number 2 is it should be liquid at all times. If you need money, with a click of the button, it should eject itself and the money should be available. Let's say in less than 3 to 7 days time, the money should come and hit your account. If that condition is met, then it qualifies to take the money which is designated as an emergency fund into that particular instrument. I will answer some of the questions that you might have, and I will leave some of the questions for you to answer. Where you should not park your emergency fund. You can't buy a stocks and say this is emergency fund. That is because it is volatile. You can't buy a unit-linked insurance plan and say this is my emergency fund, because that gets locked for 5 years. You can't park your money in an ELS scheme and say this is my emergency fund, because it gets locked for next 3 years. You can't buy land or buildings and say that this is my emergency fund, because it's an illiquid asset. So now that you have understood which instrument you should not choose, now I ask you a question. Which instruments will qualify to hold your emergency fund? I leave the decisions in your hand. I would like to know where you would like to park your money, and please give your answers in the comment section below. I would like to ask one specific question to you. The fixed deposits kept in a cooperative bank or small banks, will it qualify to hold it as an emergency fund? If your answer is yes or no, please substantiate and please leave your comments in the section below. Dear viewers, I am a finance professional. I help people reach their life goals. I help people invest wisely. If you are a person who is looking out for professional help to invest your money in a safe, wise manner in a regulated industry, then you can make best use of our services as well. We have shown our numbers here on the screens. Our team of financial guides are always ready to help you. How can you reach to us? Send us a simple WhatsApp message with your requirements on the number here which is shown. Please do not call us. We are not in a position to receive the calls. One of our financial guides will get in touch with you and help you build a robust life plan. Dear viewers, hope the video that I have made on emergency funds helped you to understand the concepts behind emergency fund, what all the things which will constitute emergency fund, how you should build it, how you should calculate, where you should park and where you should not park. If it helped you to understand all these points, please like this video. If you are a person who is watching my channel for the first time, or if you are yet to subscribe for this channel, this is the time you hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Don't forget to share this video with all the near and dear ones. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you with yet another topic, yet another video very, very soon.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.